All right, welcome everyone. We are live. So welcome to the second Drinks and Discover with ASAE Young Professionals. We did it close to about this time last year. My name is Jacob Wilder, and I'm the Director of Communications and Technology with the Building Owners and Managers Association of Georgia. I have the honor of serving on ASAE Young Professionals Committee, and I've worked with many cool cats in the association world to help bring you today's program. As a reminder, everyone, this is a virtual happy hour. It is centered around a new series that the ASAE Young Professionals is pushing, the hashtag #HowToASAE. And the first topic in that series is How to ASAE Annual Meeting. And so, like I said, since this is a happy hour, I hope that everyone, of course, here on the call and everyone watching the broadcast is joining us today with their favorite beverage in hand. Please be sure to share in the live chat. I believe, let's see, let me make sure that I get my directions. It's either going to be over here or over here. What you're drinking on today. We'd love to hear about that, as well as any questions, thoughts, ideas, comments that come up during the call. Today, I am actually sipping on Terrapin Hopsecutioner. I am a huge IPA fan. As a matter of fact, if it tastes like a Christmas tree, you can bet that I'll drink it. This beer is brewed in Athens, Georgia, and it's an American IPA. It ranks about 71 on the IBU scale, and it's got 7.3% alcohol by content. So if things get a little weird towards the end of the broadcast, you'll know what's going on there. And today I'm actually joined by three of my peers. I'm going to briefly introduce each one and ask them during this little mugshots icebreaker session that we're in to share and show everyone what they're drinking on today. And I'm going to start with Mr. Paul Leahy, the Associate Director of Membership and Component Relations at the American Immigration Lawyers Association. He is also the chair of the Young Professionals Committee. Paul, what are you drinking on, my friend?
Sure. Thanks, Jacob. And I'm one of the very few people with a title just as long, if not longer than yours. I don't know if people can see this. I'm drinking a Hopwork Orange, which is an orange-infused IPA. I don't know that it's created by Blue Mountain Brewery, but it is made in conjunction with Blue Mountain, which is near, kind of outside of Charlottesville, kind of near Nelliesford, Virginia, which you'll find Wintergreen and Devil's Backbone Brewery. So it's a nice little spot we like to go to in the winter. After we shred a bunch of gnar on the slopes, we'll get out to Blue Mountain and get some beers.
I forgot you were into that thing.
Oh,
yeah, I
you
can't.
need me to read off. This one is 65 IBU. I have no idea what that means. 16.9% Plato. Also don't know what that means. And 7.0% alcohol. That I do know what that means.
Well, hang with us, Paul. Slow down on that thing. Nurse it a little bit if you can. We don't want to get too crazy.
Getting up and getting another one.
Well, you better hurry up because we're going to really get rip-roaring in a minute. So.
Yeah, okay.
Next up, I have Jenna Worley. She's the Associate Director of Sales and Development and Analysis at ASAE. Jenna, we were commenting on one of our other calls. I believe the first time that we met, you took my money. But it was okay because it was going to the foundation and the PAC, and so those are very worthy causes. Jenna, what are you drinking on today?
I am drinking a lovely raspberry lime sparkling water. Staying hydrated.
That's good. That's good. The working there in your office, I'm sure they're going to be very proud. And of course, you know, everyone, it's alcoholic or non today, so you know, just feel free to go with the fro. If you're, you know, if you're drinking a nice coffee, you know, share that with us. We'll be happy to hear that. Yeah, Jenna, thanks for joining the call. And then also we have Garet Turner, CMP and Director of Corporate Relations at CASE. And I am also told that he is an all-around badass. And I have it on good authority. Actually, I know Garet, so I know it to be true. But Garet, what are you drinking on today, my friend?
Just a little bit of bullet bourbon. Can't go wrong with that. It's a good everyday kind of cap off. So.
Oh, indeed. Well, good deal. Well, thanks everyone for doing their introduction. I'm kind of over here. Oh, what happened to my feed? There it goes. Kind of jumped off there. I do apologize. I'll be monitoring the live chat throughout today's discussion to see if anybody posts questions, has any ideas. Also, what you're drinking on, please feel free to share that as well, and we'll kind of bounce back and forth through that. But let's get right into today's program. So the idea behind this hashtag #HowToASAE kind of came up with in a discussion with the Young Professionals Committee with ASAE a while back, and realizing that, you know, with a lot of things, you just don't really know how to do it with ASAE. And one of those things is the annual meeting, obviously, and that's what we decided to launch off with today. But we hope to have a lot more coming up through that discussion. With the annual meeting, obviously, there's lots of different things that come up. And last year being my first annual meeting, I remember feeling a little bit overwhelmed kind of going into it. How do you plan for it? I think I was a little bit too ambitious on everything that I'd be able to accomplish while I was there. And even though I did try to plan it out and do a lot of my planning before I arrived on site at Salt Lake City, it was still just here and there and getting invited to this and doing all of those things. And a lot of those really good plans that I had in place just kind of fell apart. But Salt Lake City was my first. Paul, what was your first annual meeting?
God, I'm aging myself, dating myself here. I want to say it was LA, Los Angeles, which must have been, I don't know, 2011, 2012-ish, or maybe even 2010.
Oh, wow, Paul. Sorry, I didn't mean to embarrass you, my friend.
Yeah, that's okay. I was lucky. I've been going for a while, so.
That's good. That's good. So probably one of the more experienced folks that we have on our panel today. Garet, remind me, what was your first annual meeting?
Last year was my
it was
annual meeting. Yep.
Cool. So we're kind of both fresh off the newbie boat, which we'll talk a little bit about, of course, later. And Jenna, you tell me your whole story, because I don't think that I've heard all of it with ASAE, and then your experience with annual.
Sure. So actually, my first annual was the first year that I started working with ASAE. So it was 2014, Nashville. So yeah, I mean, I have a little bit of experience with the annual meeting, but there seems to be something new to discover every year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was thinking, like, one of the saddest things that happened to me is, for whatever reason, when annual meeting, and I know that it's coming up to Atlanta again here soon, but one of the saddest things that ever happened to me is when it was in Atlanta the last time I was here, I just wasn't able to go. It wasn't able to fit into my schedule. So always something good to go to, a lot of unique things to be thinking about. Particularly with the young professionals, though, what we wanted to do was to be able to serve not only young professionals but first-time attendees to the ASAE annual meeting, and hopefully have that discussion today. One of the things specifically focused on young professionals that the Young Professionals Committee puts out every year is the YP Guide to Annual. We've got some really cool changes coming to that this year. I believe, Paul, you were going to talk a little bit about that and some of the things. And Paul, like I mentioned earlier, is the chair of the Young Professionals Committee. So who more appropriate to talk about it than Mr. Paul Leahy?
Yeah, of course. Thank you. So those listening in or watching this may be familiar with the YP Guide to Annual that we've done I don't know, the last 4 or 5 years. It's just a one page front to back, which lists, top events and things to do as a young professional. In years we've curated sort of some of the education sessions that you might want to highlight and make sure to attend that are perhaps more pertinent to our group of middle management and rising stars that are not quite in need of some of those CEO level, high level tracks. And then, of course, we have contact information for our various committee members and social media outlets. Having said that, we're actually transitioning a little bit this year, and we're still developing all the content with regards to education sessions and receptions and events and meetings and really cool association management conversations. We're still going to curate that content and distribute it, but we're doing it in a little bit different way this year. We're going to utilize the annual meeting app, which I believe Garet will talk about in a little bit. We're going to utilize our Facebook page. So for those who aren't on it, check it out. It's ASAE Young Professionals. A lot of the information will go up there. We'll start some conversations. We'll get some buzz about some of the events that we're doing, some of the programming that we have. And then, of course, on our Twitter feed, which is at ASAEYP. I'm sure there'll be a conference hashtag. I'm probably ASAE17 or something to that effect. So if you are on Twitter, yes, hashtag. If you are on Twitter, check that out and give us a follow so that we can let you know about the events that we have and some of the top sessions that we think might be pertinent to you in your career development.
Yeah, I think one of the neat things, Paul, as we transition away from what used to be a very useful tool, it was a PDF, and it had literally everything on it. But as I experienced, I'm sure, Garet, you experienced this as well, and even as a veteran attendee, things are fluid at annual meeting. And so we really needed something that was going to allow us to be a little bit more flexible in promoting the things that are going on with young professionals throughout the whole conference. And so one of those key components, like you had mentioned, Paul, was the educational component and the different tracks that they kind of have available. I believe, Jenna, they're called pathways, right? That's the way that it's organized and structured. And so one of the neat things that I think ASAE does, and that we try to just join with them in, is talking about those pathways and how you can really structure your own experience that's going to be tailored better to you. One of the neat things, well, I wouldn't say neat, I'd say one of the peculiar things about young professionals is we're a demographic. That conversation comes up a lot. We're just a demographic, and within that demographic, you have folks entering the industry, but you already have folks that are C-suite or close to C-suite. And how do you, do that? So with ASAE's pathways, they have it tailored to a whole bunch of different types of interests. So, for instance, they've got business operations in global markets. Probably not for me, being a small staff association. Data analytics and business intelligence. But where it really starts to get juicy and interesting for me and where I am in my career, and I don't know regarding everyone else, but executive education for chief executive success. So talking about those that are kind of already in the role, but then they also have the senior executives aspiring to that CEO position and kind of the things that are tailored towards them. And then finally, the young professionals as future leaders. Really, one of the things that I've seen, Jenna, is ASAE's focus on trying to bring up the next generation of leaders through their programming, through that education, and having these kind of courses already outlined for you. I can't say enough, in my opinion, about going to the annual meeting website, looking through those pathways, and really kind of customizing a plan for you that's going to, really fit your educational goals, allow you to, go in with a plan, I guess is the the shortest piece of advice that I could give. Go in with a plan of what you want to achieve out of your education, and make sure that you allot the time to do it, because you don't want to end up in a situation where you can't go do those things. Paul, I remember a conversation specifically last year at Salt Lake that you and I had, where you said, like, I need to go do this thing right now. I just need to go do this, but I have like 1,000,001 other things going on at the same time. So, Paul, and you can chime in on this as well. I think one of the other conversations that we've had is, we were doing too much, and we've specifically tried to cut back on the amount of stuff that we're doing to focus on quality, I think, instead of quantity, so that it frees up young professionals to really enjoy that experience.
I think a big piece of that, Jacob, is that while it's important to go in with a plan, be open to last minute changes, especially because I don't remember if they were the taste of events where we brought in the executives and we got to have kind of the dinner or the breakfast with them, but those were events that were extremely helpful to me. I kept in touch with several of the executives that I met, and from there used them as sounding boards as I thought about other career moves, and they've also provided general guidance about things that I could be doing differently here within my own organization, which has helped me gain some recognition, just because there was a different perspective from a different organization. So as much as, yes, you definitely want to go in with a plan because of how many things might pop up that could be wonderful opportunities, always be flexible while you're on site, just because, as you all have alluded to, there is so much happening, but all of it's good. So you'll find where you need to be if you kind of go with the flow to a certain
extent. Yeah, that's such a great point, Garet, because even like logistically speaking, you're going to have like this one session that you really want to go to in a one time block, and then you'll get there, and not only is it standing room only, but there's literally no room. And you can't even stand, and you just have to go to another session.
Yeah.
Like, you'll have the like misfortune of your previous session being like 15 minutes away on the other side of the convention center, and everybody else who's competing for that session is like right next door. So you really do have to have some backup plans. And of course, as Garet said, there are lots of opportunities that pop up. Like if you get into a discussion in the hallway with some association execs about, a topic that's really passionate, that you're passionate about, or that you have ideas about, or you guys are brainstorming, that's worth more, I think, to me than some of the sessions. Not to say that they're bad sessions, but learning happens in so many different ways.
Well, and the connection happens in those moments, and like I said, quite honestly, the follow-up that I did afterwards has helped me tremendously. And people had always talked about ASAE and talked about annual, and I joined last year as an individual member at the request of my supervisor, who is a CAE and wants all of his direct reports to get their CAE. And then shortly after, he became chief operating officer, and so now that ASAE offers an organizational membership, our entire organization is a member of ASAE. So things have changed a little bit, but I say all that to say, I joined, as an individual member. I got on the Young Professionals committee immediately, and all of it has been extremely positive and to my benefit. Everything won't always go according to plan in terms of timing, like you said, but all in all, great things are happening at Annual. So,
absolutely. Guys, thank you for kind of transitioning into that conversation. And Paul and Garet, you both, I think, hit the nail right on the head. Is you don't do all of your learning just in the sessions. There are opportunities outside of the educational sessions to learn and make connections. Jenna, you were going to talk something about the association exchange this year, and you and I had a quick back and forth about something cool that's going on in the association exchange this year. It's a headshot lounge.
Yeah, so there are actually 2 spaces in the convention center, in addition to the Hive, which is also available for first time and new attendees. One of them is the Association Exchange, and that is basically all of ASAE's services in one location. So you can go there to learn about getting your CAE, you can go there and learn about what APAC and the Power of A are doing. You can go and find out what's going on with Career HQ, sign up for a coaching session, sort of learn about everything that's going on with ASAE. And then a few steps away, the ASAE Foundation has a headshot lounge. So it's a complimentary headshot or a $20 donation to the foundation. But it's a professional headshot. You can get your makeup done and they'll shoot your headshot. And it's a great takeaway if you need a new LinkedIn photo, or you know, you're using a photo from high school or something. It's a great way to get a new professional photo and not spend thousands of dollars.
And that was one of the things that when I heard that, I was like, well, now I've got to remember to bring my suit. So, you know, I've got to get all, you know, spiffied up so that I can remember to do that, because mine is probably about 3 or 4 years old. And what a great way to, of course, contribute through that. So that was a really neat idea. Thanks for sharing. And you mentioned it. I think one of the other things is the lounges that are available there. I know one that I'm personally looking forward to is being able to go visit the CAE lounge this year, having just earned that. But you mentioned the Hive. I think that you know, we'll forget it, but I'll just, you know, go ahead and say the location's on level 600 for that this year. And then something that's interesting for me is the small staff lounge that applies to my organization. So of course there's other lounges there kind of tailored towards folks' different interests, but go check those out again on the ASAE Annual Meeting website. I can't recommend that highly enough. I think, Garet, you were going to talk a little bit about the app in more detail. One, how to use it, how we can all utilize it, but how we'll be communicating through that as well.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, this year we're not going to do the PDF that will outline all of the various events, but as you and I talked yesterday, there will be some Eventbrite information that'll go out to young professionals to sign up for the events and receive the information that way. But in addition to that, we're going to try and utilize Facebook and some reminders and some pushes there with the various hashtags that we will have for ASAE's annual conference this year. And we'll also use Twitter, of course, to market some of these things. But within the app, there are usually a lot of different channels, but on the main channel this year, we're going to utilize a hashtag just for young professionals and young professional events. So people will be able to search based on that hashtag to find all of the things that would be considered relevant for young professionals and networking within that group of individuals. In addition to that, you know, you mentioned how hectic building a schedule is and how hectic just in general the conference is. And the great part about the app is that you can go in and pre-select, I should say, all of the sessions that you think you want to attend, to have those on kind of your own personalized list. And from there, you know, hopefully always be in the right space at the right time. It was crazy to me just how big Annual was. You know, we do some large conferences. I think our largest is 1,400 or 1,500 people. Then I got to Annual and I'm like, ours are nothing compared to this, you know. And I knew that there were much larger conferences out there, but hadn't attended one. So, you know, the great part about that is, even though it is so large, within the app, there are also ways to search individuals by job title, by organization, by last name. So if you met somebody at one, session, but you don't remember all the details about them, searching by any of those factors can help you locate them, whereas you may not see them again otherwise. In fact, I was able to help somebody locate their lost sunglasses based on last name last year after one of the events that I attended. So, you know, it's a wonderful communication tool, a wonderful planning tool, and overall just a wonderful database for the sessions and you know, all the presentations that go on during the conference.
Apps save lives.
Yeah.
and I'll say that, you know, I downloaded it, and I was like a late adopter to it. But when I finally found the app and realized like what I could do with it, how I could plan those sessions and, you know, kind of navigate my way through ASAE Annual, I found it to be quite beneficial. But, you know, we were talking like I'm one of those weirdos that, you know, even though I have all that, I still put it in my Outlook calendar, like what I want to go attend and do and all of those things, just so that I don't forget. And I get those reminders, but I just have to do that kind of as a backup for me because, you know, you get used to one thing and sticking to it.
Hey, Jacob, remind me, what is the app called?
It's the I'm sorry, what?
I'm not sure I have the right one, and I want to make sure that others listening don't have the same issue as I do.
Now, and I want to make sure that I, in fact, have the right one because, and I think I do. It's the ASAE Events app. Is that correct, Garrett?
Yeah.
Okay, good deal. So,
and the nice part about that is any of the other ASAE conferences that you go to will all stay live right on your phone, so you can always go back to reference the people you met or the presentations you saw later as time goes on.
Yeah.
Probably not forever, but you know, long enough.
Yeah, long enough to grab that bit of knowledge, download it, and
right.
Save it. So that's good. Now, one of the other things that we have going on at Annual that the young professionals are putting on is the Taste of events, and we do that every year since I've been on the committee. One of the decisions that was made this year, which I think was a good one, was to try to consolidate it down to just 1 or 2 days. So if anyone is interested in going to the Taste of events, these are opportunities to go meet with other leaders in the association profession, thought leaders, those who are higher up. I know that it was a beneficial experience for me to be able to go last year and have breakfast with Scott Wiley. This year we're going to be doing them all on Sunday though. And Monday, Sunday and Monday this year. We have some lunchtime events planned around that. So the kind of names that you'll be hearing, Lori Anderson, she's going to be one of the names that we've got. We've also got Cynthia Mills. That'll actually be one that I'm attending. I'm pleased to be a host for that. So if you're looking for some place to go and to connect, I will shamelessly plug that specific event. We got Amy McNona, and that'll also be on a Sunday night. And then on Monday, for those that can't make any of those Sunday events, we've got another opportunity with Emily Bardak and Maria Bianchi. Both are CAEs. So if you don't have the opportunity to go do it on Sunday night, please go check it out on Monday. I will say that these are limited opportunity events, so it's between 10 to 12 folks. You'll be seeing this posted on our Facebook group. Like Paul mentioned earlier, ASAE Young Professionals, if you search that on Facebook. But if you're wanting to go take a look at it now, you can go to asaeyp.eventbrite.com. We'll get that post up on our Facebook real soon, but if you want to go ahead and take a look at those different options, the topics that we're covering, please go check that out. That'll be a really good opportunity for you. So
yeah, and if I could just like jump in and double plug that, because I think that it's such a great opportunity for a number of reasons. One, if you don't have a really big network, you know, it's easy for those of us who have been to 3 or 4 or 5 conferences to know people, to have kind of accumulated friends and acquaintances and association peeps, if you will. So it's actually really good if like this is one of your first ones, or you just don't have a lot of connections in the association world, because you're going to meet with, like Jacob said, upwards of like 10 or 12 other young professionals, and then a couple of really like high level thought leaders in the industry, like real C-suite leaders within ASAE who have spoken, who have contributed, who served on the board, who have like have years and sometimes decades of experience in this field. And it's just it's a much more intimate setting to be able to like have lunch and ask questions with some of these really great people who have graciously donated their time because they want to meet us, because they want to share their knowledge. So I would really, really encourage anybody who's on this call or who's going to be watching this later, is when you see that, just consider just signing up. Everybody pays their own way, and you really get a lot out of it. Well, I know I did.
I know, right? And the other thing that I'll say, just from my experience and how I benefited from the other 10, 11 folks that we had go meet with Scott Wiley, is folks were asking questions that I wanted to ask, that I was afraid to ask. And so you get to also see that your peers are in a similar situation, that they're worried about this or that, or how to climb the ladder, you know, what they should be doing with their career, what designation should they be pursuing. And you mentioned that everybody pays for themselves, but our group managed to find some way to get Scott Wiley to pay for ours. So cheers.
Garet, were you able to attend one last year?
Was that me?
Yeah, Garet, you made one, right?
Yeah, I did. I actually went to 2 different ones because I went to one on the first evening, and that was with Dante, who is one of the younger executive directors, and actually made a jump from manager, skipped director, skipped VP, or number 2, and went straight to executive director of a smaller organization out in California. It's a state organization, and that was a really interesting one, because as someone who is basically the same age as him, it was great to hear his story and learn a little bit about what gave him the motivation to make the jump, what gave him the motivation to complete the 100 hours for the CAE and find time to do that, and so forth. The second one that I went to was at 7 a.m. in the morning with Susan Cantrell, who's from one of the pharmacy associations. And Susan is the executive that I was speaking of, that I said, I still keep in touch with. When they moved into their new offices and went to an open floor plan concept, she had me over. We toured the office, and then we went to lunch because my office is thinking about, changing our complete design, and open floor plan is something that's kind of on the table right now. So it's really interesting. And then beyond that, her and I have kept in touch about career things, and she's great to be able to bounce things off of. You may not necessarily find that with every executive, but she also said I was one of the only people who, after leaving, followed up with her to say, like, no, I need your expertise. So, yeah. And
see, that's really good. That's, it's self-promoting, because you really can make those kind of connections. I know that all of those that we've invited this year to come speak and work with the groups that we have coming are genuinely looking forward to connecting and giving back, but also getting that kind of input. And Garet, what you were saying, I mean, that's incredible. It's super tangible that you are continuing to keep in touch with the folks that you met with there and learn from. I think one of the other things that we kind of need to transition into discussion is actually like registering and actually attending the event, because I know a lot of us may already be registered, but some of us are not. Some of us are on the fence on whether we're going to go. And so kind of how to do that and the opportunities that are available, especially at a discount for young professionals. Jenna, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So registration is open and it's ready, and you can just sign up online. There are some discounts available. There's, of course, early bird that I believe ends the 12th of July. And then there are also some discounts for young professionals on things like classic tickets. So if you're not familiar with the classic is basically a big party and concert that is held on Monday night at Annual Meeting, and all the ticket sales benefit the foundation. It's usually in a beautiful venue. This year it's at the Revel, which is just stunning. I believe Tom Cochran is the performance, but it's great food, an open bar. It's just another opportunity for you to connect. And it's not as big as the opening party or the closing party. We don't have room to accommodate the whole conference. So it's just ticket holders who get to go. And it's usually the who's who of annual meeting. It's a great way to network with some of the people that you haven't been able to connect with at the convention center. So for YPs, we're offering 50% off classic tickets. So they're normally $150, and we're offering them for $75. And that includes, again, drinks all night and food, great entertainment, and another great opportunity to connect.
So have you gotten to go every year that you've worked there?
I have.
Yeah. What's been your favorite? What were the memorable moments from the classic?
No, Lady Antebellum, that one was pretty neat. Of course, I was at the Bacon Brothers last year. That was a lot of fun. Kevin Bacon and his brother are in a band. Of course, Lionel Richie, you can't go wrong. That was in Detroit at the Fox Theater, which is just gorgeous in person. It's usually just such a neat way to see, one of the nicest venues that the city has to offer. And it's always just a lot of fun to, see your friends and meet new friends. People are in usually great spirits. So it's all been fun, all been a highlight.
Yeah, that's great. I think one of the best byproducts of the classic is getting to see those like really high level executives, the ones that are on the stage at opening, getting the awards, like all the top speakers that are filling the room. You get to see them like cut loose and dance to Lionel Richie and like shoving food in their face. I don't know. For me, that's just like, it was always really entertaining. Hopefully none of them are listening to this right now.
It's always, it was interesting to me. And, of course, last year being my first experience with the classic, when I was registered for it, I was like, what's this whole thing? And I kept reading about it and I was like, oh, well, this is really cool. And so I guess I didn't truly understand. Like, I thought it was some kind of tribute band with the Bacon Brothers. I didn't realize that I was going to be 6-degreeing Kevin Bacon. Like, my phone is still loaded up with all the photos that I took of Kevin Bacon last year. And I was like sending them to all my friends. I was like, dude, check this out. I mean, like, I could have reached out and touched him. It was incredible. But then also, just like you said, the connections you made, I had really valuable conversations, and you're getting to be there with folks that are noticing you as well. So I think the other important thing to say is that when you're there, it shows an investment in the association industry, that you care about this field, and it's a good way to kind of network up. So, give a break.
I will also just say that, if you haven't registered, register, but also book your room as soon as possible, because we have hotel blocks that are filling quickly, and we just want to make sure everyone gets in there.
Absolutely. That's a good point, Jenna. And we were kind of just talking about, and I remember we were discussing this on our planning call, is like, I'm the jerk that does the Airbnb. But certainly being considerate and making sure that you're going ahead and doing it. Because I remember looking at the hotels and the prices going up and the room blocks selling out. So it's really important that, it's time to move forward. Make sure that you get your plane ticket. Make sure that you go ahead and get your place reserved. Paul, you said that you're doing Airbnb this year?
Yeah, maybe. But, I think that's a good point, though, is that you always want to support the association. And we do so by attending the events, by, paying our dues and doing all that stuff. And then whenever possible, staying in the room block. But if that's going to prohibit you from attending the conference, stay somewhere else. You don't absolutely have to stay in the room block. Like, I'm sure, correct me if I'm wrong, Jenna, from a staff point of view, but you'd rather have us there in some capacity than like not go because we couldn't afford to stay in the hotel,
Sure.
So yeah, I'm staying in Airbnb this year because I did not budget or get the budget to cover everything.
No, we certainly want you there in Toronto with us. So whatever that means for you.
And if your organization is paying your way and covering everything, stay at the conference hotels.
Yes.
Absolutely. One of the neat things is like with mine, it's affordability issue, but I'm right there next to the Roundhouse Park where the closing ceremony, the closing ceremony is, the closing party. And so I'm looking forward to just being able to, at the end of the night, just check out and, head back to my bed. But
well, I would say, if I might, for those who are planning to stay in the hotel block, that's fine, and you should. Just things that you might want to consider is distance from the hotel. Luckily, it's Toronto. It shouldn't be too hot in August. I've been to a couple ASAE conferences, which were in some really hot cities in early August. But that also corresponds to the shuttle route and how long you're going to A, have to wait, or B, how long it'll actually take you once you get on the shuttle. So just things to take in consideration. And then Wi-Fi, last year I went and I got in pretty late on the room block. So I stayed in one of the hotels that was a little bit farther away. But the worst part of it was the Wi-Fi never worked. So the entire time I was there at the conference, I was just eating up data. And, it turned out okay, but just a few things to think about. And then, we're probably a little bit late in the process now, but if you're thinking ahead to future years, which I really hope you are, as soon as the housing form is posted and you get those first messages about the conference, get on there and book the closest hotel, the best hotel, the one that fits your needs, because they're going to go quick.
Yeah, that's a good point, Paul. And, all joking aside about, how you decide to stay at the ASAE annual meeting, those hotels are connected. They have bus routes running from them. And so, shame on me because, when I need to go to one of the receptions, when I, go to the closing reception, I have to go to one of those other hotels. Now it's an inconvenience for me. So, I just do that because I'm a big Airbnb fan, but there are really practical reasons that you should try to stay at one of the hotels that ASAE outlines. And like you said, Paul, doing that early. Also, doing the airfare. Paul, you were going to mention a little bit about that. I know when I was checking out the price of tickets, I was like, whoa, so wanting to make sure that you do that in advance as well and kind of be prepared for the sticker price on that.
Yeah, I could sit here and give tips for finding good airfare, but I'm, one, not any more knowledgeable than you. And two, we're all adults here, so you should have your own tips and tricks and apps that you use and websites that you use. But I will say, while it's not too late now, when you're planning ahead in future years, definitely want to give yourself some lead time, especially if you're coming from the DC area and you're flying particularly out of DCA. because you're going to run into a lot of other people that are going to this conference. I think this is like a 6,000, 7,000 person conference, and the bulk of ASAE people are in DC, so there's pretty good chance that your flight is going to have a lot of ASAE people on it. So that's one good reason to dress a little bit more upscale than you might normally for, say, a cross-country trip on a plane. Like, you probably don't want to do yoga pants or sweatpants and like a ratty t-shirt. And if you're taking an afternoon or an evening flight and you're imbibing to maybe bring the nerves down from the flight, trying not to drink too much, because you could very easily be sitting right next to somebody who's going to be at the conference, or there'll be a lot of people there, and you don't want to start the conference that way by being that like on the airplane that everybody remembers. That's not coming from experience. I've never actually done that. How bad
I don't know. You seem pretty
sure
details of this.
And then the other thing that I forgot to check is this is out of the country, and Canada, you got to have a passport, so make sure that you've done that as well, because I think the clock is ticking on that kind of opportunity.
Yep.
So let's see, what do we have here? So in terms of I think one of the other things that we wanted to kind of discuss and do is kind of the things that you must do while you're there, and then kind of the maybe do's. Garet, having started, it being our first year, what would you say are the must do's versus the maybe do's in your opinion?
Oh, that's a difficult one. I mean, I guess one of the must-dos is definitely the taste of events. Definitely get in on those. Another must-do was the Reno event. Got to meet a lot of other young professionals that way, and I learned about their, I can't think of the name of the program right now, sorry, but learned about their program that they do for kind of propelling the next generation. Oh, that's what it's called, Next Gen. There we go. Propelling the next generation and forward with, their programming that they do in Reno, which is really cool and something I'll apply for next year. So those are definitely some must-dos, and then just pick some really good sessions. I mean, I actually enjoyed picking sessions that didn't directly relate to what I do, which is pretty easy to do because they have very few sponsorship or like sales kinds of sessions, but they do have some marketing sessions, which were interesting. But I think it was really cool to go to some of the data sessions and start learning how other people are utilizing data, and then think about how I apply that to my organization. And one of the other things that I would find interesting would actually be to go to this small staff lounge, because of the fact that even though my organization is not a small staff, my department is a small staff, and hearing how others are optimizing their time and their resources from a capacity standpoint would be a really good opportunity.
Cool. Thanks for sharing, Garet. All right, I'm going to pick a little bit on Paul and then Jenna. Paul, as the veteran, what do you say? We should do it all, right? We should just do it all.
Right. Yeah, no, there's no way you can do it all. I'd say definitely go to the Classic, especially with the gracious discount this year. I know that was, even for me in particular, an obstacle to engagement, an obstacle to joining, but I really want to see a lot of people take advantage of that, and it's just such a great event, and you're giving back and you're supporting the community, and there's some warm fuzzies to go along with the good time that you're going to have. Definitely go to, I know ASAE does a pretty good job. I don't recall on the schedule where it is, but I know they usually set up tours and little networking social type events to get you out into the city, wherever it is. If you're not able to do those, I actually think they're like Wednesday before the closing party, or don't quote me on that. In any case, if you can't make it to those, if you're headed out of town or for whatever reason it conflicts with your schedule, I say get a small group of friends and go do something away from the conference. Like, get out of the conference environment. It's great. and there's lots of value, and you'll network and socialize and learn in the conference environment, but you're also in a really cool city. I was just in Toronto in the fall, and I had a great time. So just get a small group, go out to dinner somewhere outside of like the immediate conference area, and just get to see the city.
Absolutely. And Jenna, I'm going to pick on you, and if I may ask you a question and see how it goes. So I'm really interested in these game changer sessions that you guys have going on this year. Can you tell me a little bit more about those?
Sure. So the game changer sessions are, speakers who, most of them we have contracted through speakers bureaus, and they might not be in the association industry, but they are sharing, experiences and a different perspective that can help association execs perform their jobs better. So, last year we had, the founder of Geek Squad. We also had an entrepreneur who had figured out a way to provide sleeping bags to the homeless in Detroit. And she was also employing those people to actually sew the sleeping bags. So she was able to, give them jobs and just like some really interesting perspectives. This year we have a model who appeared on America's Next Top Model who is deaf. Niall, I know that's going to be a popular session. And all of the game changers are on our website, so you can read about them. But those are definitely sessions that you're going to want to attend. They definitely border on the sort of edutainment side of things. So worth checking out.
Yeah, thanks for plugging those, Jenna, because I was just going through that on the website, and Niall's a good-looking fella. So any ladies watching the broadcast, you should go check him out. But I mean, they've got stuff here on how to be more productive, just how to be more happy and successful at your work, and really challenging you to grow. And so I think it's a really good testament to the types of opportunities that you'll have. It's a combination of those hard and technical skills that you need as an association professional, but soft skills, leadership skills that are good for your career. So most definitely. Jenna, was there anything else? Like I said, you're probably on the do everything train, right? But what do you?
No, I mean, I think the headshots are great, and that's a feedback that we've gotten, especially from the YP community, is just how nice that is. Professional headshots are really expensive. If you've ever looked into it, it's not cheap. The other thing I would say is if you have time, schedule a coaching session. We have professional career coaches, and I think for a very nominal fee, you can schedule an hour with them. Again, that's one of the things that if you've ever looked into it, it's very expensive to get an executive coach, but these are wonderful. I actually attended one last year, and the coaches are really good about checking in throughout the year and providing resources. And, Garet mentioned, being a sounding board. The association exchange, if you have any questions about ASAE, it's just going to be the place that you want to go and learn about, sort of what you can find and do as a member. So I would definitely say that. And if you're in Toronto on Saturday and looking for something to do, one thing that we haven't mentioned is the foundation has a golf tournament. So if you play golf or don't play golf very well, all are kind of welcome. And that's another one of those kind of smaller opportunities. So usually there are about 120 people, and it's, board members come and a lot of, kind of that who's who crowd. So if you want to spend a couple of hours on the golf course, it's a scramble tournament, so it's not too serious. There's usually food and beverage on most of the golf holes, so it's a lot of fun. And if you're brand new to golf, we actually have a golf clinic that goes on at the same time. So that we actually have an option for that registration option that's $100, and that's for the whole tournament. And you'll actually then be a foundation donor, so you can attend the donor reception that evening, which again is pretty small relatively. It's only usually about 300 people, so lots of opportunities to connect, small and big. But I would say, try to keep your eyes open to all of the opportunities that are going on. There's certainly a lot, but pack those days with as much as you can.
Hey Jacob, I don't think I'm going to be able to make that committee meeting on Saturday. I got something else that just came up.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Is that the case? I was just going to comment. I'm terrible at golf, but now, Jenna, the way that you pitched it to me, I'm seriously considering it. Though I just wish that if they had a driving range, that's all that I want to do. But I fall into the philosophy that golf is a good walk spoiled. I think isn't that what it is? I don't play golf, so. Maybe I should, though.
It's worth a try,
I like that way in. I like that way in. Jenna, you may have convinced me.
Good.
So we've got a couple more minutes before we wrap up here. I'm looking over at the chat. It doesn't look like anybody's asked any questions so far. But before we wrap up, just know that we'll be sending out some more information about how to get the discounts, how to take advantage of all these opportunities, whether it's the Taste of event, whether it's the Reno receptions, or these other extracurricular opportunities around the annual meeting that you can take advantage of. We'll be sending out more information on that through the Young Professionals Committee, but also ASAE will do the same thing. So I'll take the opportunity again, like Paul did at the beginning, to plug our Facebook page, to plug our Twitter handle, and just go there and be in those spaces. That's a really great way to stay updated, but also utilize Collaborate as well. The Young Professionals community on Collaborate is a great place to connect and kind of get that information. But before we kind of drop off the call and close things out, just wanted to give everyone another opportunity to kind of go through. We'll start with Garet. Just any closing thoughts that you had, as well as ideas on tips that you could provide to first-time attendees.
No, I think just go, have a good time, talk to anyone who's there, because everyone's there for the same reason. They're not actually strangers. They're just friends you haven't met yet. So enjoy yourself, and hopefully you'll join either the Young Professionals Committee or figure out how to get involved with one of the other section councils along the way. I think that's your best opportunity.
Cool. Jenna?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we've covered so much in this hangout, but yeah, just go, keep your eyes open, and dive in head first. There's a lot to absorb, but it's definitely a really rewarding couple of days.
Cool. Paul, what you got?
I'll go with a very cliche. When you sit down in the session, hand out your business card and start talking to the people at your table. It's really just as easy as that. I'm an extrovert, so it's not difficult to me. And I understand the struggle of the introverts, but like I'm telling you, all you gotta do is break the ice. Everybody's there, like Garet said. Friends you haven't met yet. Everyone's there for the same reasons and looking for a lot of the same things. So just start conversations. Be you. Have fun.
Cool. Thanks, Paul. I think just the last thing that I would add, make sure that you have the app. That was an incredible tool for me. The expo hall, which we didn't mention much, make sure that you take some time. That was where my strategy at ASAE Annual could have improved so much, was if I'd have really planned how I wanted to go through the expo hall. Because you're going to learn about a lot of new opportunities that you didn't know. I took a virtual tour of Thailand last year. It was incredible. So, but what is it that you need in your specific job, and kind of planning that ahead? And then the last thing, all of us have told you how to do ASAE Annual Meeting today, but I think we would all agree that you really can't do it wrong. There are just ways that you can optimize your experience and make it so much better. So if you're sitting on the fence today, if you're, like, should I go? You should go. It's an incredible experience. My first experience last year was great, and from these veterans that we have on the call today, they would back up and certainly echo that sentiment. It looks like, though, that we have finally reached our time for today. Thank you all for joining in on the call today. I especially appreciate Jenna and Paul and Garet for joining me and sharing their sage advice and sharing a drink with me. For those of you who watch the live broadcast, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Please be sure to let us know what you thought about the program by liking this YouTube video after it closes, or leaving a comment. And with that, if there is no other business on the call today, I'll just say thank you and have a great evening. Cheers. Oh, wait. Oh, who do we got? What?
I just wanted to say one last thing, and that's just that if you do find yourself needing something while you're at the meeting, please don't hesitate to approach any of the ASAE staff. We are really there to serve you and to make your experience as good as possible. So if you run into anything, or just need to run something by us, we're all there, and we'll all be wearing the same outfits each day. So yeah, we're there to help.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jenna. And I know we need to wrap up, but I would echo that too. When I went to go see any of the staff anytime while I was there at the exchange, and they were so willing and able to just help me, get me pointed in the right direction, help a newbie out. So absolutely. Thanks, Jenna, for plugging that as well. All right, everyone. Thank you so much.
Take care.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye.